Greetings, people of Earth. How are you? It's me, Rabid. Please stand by. We begin transmission shortly. I don't know what this is saying that it's waiting for me. We're transmitting. YouTube. All right, here we are. Oh, I put my microphone up, so oops. Hi. Let's try and rectify that. Hello, hopefully you can hear me. That's me. A bit late back with my review video that I said I was going to be doing yesterday when I unboxed the router. But here I am. But as promised, I am shaved and anyway. Yeah. Tonight, going to review the MetaQuest 3 that I got about 2 weeks ago now, and give you an honest opinion about what I think about this thing. Maybe cover some things that you might not see other YouTube content providers discuss that cover VR things. So yeah, this is the first VR helmet I've ever owned. I have used other VR helmets in the past, but this is the first one that I have owned myself. And if you saw the unboxing video, you can probably tell there's a couple of different things, some changes to when I first got this. And yeah, I'll go over that to begin with, and then yeah, I guess we'll discuss why. I've made these changes to the Quest, and some you've probably heard before, but others, yeah, I haven't heard so much when I've watched other videos and read other information about this. I don't know, maybe you've heard of the complaints I'm going to have about this thing. So, yeah, to start with, one of the first things I got was the silicon interface that goes over the. There's a fabric lining under there. And while that breathes better than the silicon, the silicon's easy to clean, but yeah, the fabric is a bad idea. It gets dirty, it's hard to clean because, you know, you put this thing on your face gets warm, you sweat. Where's that sweat going to go? It's going to get absorbed by the fabric. So you go to hand it off to somebody else, and they're like, ew, yuck, that's wet. I mean, an example is Gizmo. She went to have a go at this. And while I was setting up, I just sort of like put it on for a second like that. And it just was like this. Took it off. When I handed it to her, she could notice the light dampness from my sweat that was on it. So with the silicon interface, you can at least get a bit of warm water and a microfiber cloth or something and just give it a wipe down. So it's a lot more sanitized having that. So it's almost like essential. But yeah, the problem is being silicon, it doesn't breathe, and therefore after a while of playing up here, especially across your brow, it gets very, very hot. So yeah, something to consider. Um, Another thing is the headband. It originally came with the jock strap here, because that's what it makes me feel like. When it's like that, it feels like a jock strap of some kind. Like, what, do we go like this? There we go. But yeah, this was adjusted by, you move these straps and that adjusts the tension across this way. You slide those back and forth to adjust the belt, the strap tension. And a couple of plastic clips here. And yeah, one of the big problems with this thing is it's white material. It's a fabric. I don't know if I can pick up because of those background blur I've got, but it's me. Yeah, but it picks up the dirt real bad. Like after the first week of using it, I've washed my hands every time I've used the Quest. I make sure my hands are clean. And within a week, this looks grubby. It looks old. It's not a really good idea having white material on something that people want going to put on their hair, where they might have natural oils and sweat and things like that. And material is going to absorb it. And this is the same problem they had with the Quest 2. From what I read, the straps on that were basically the same. And it's like even black would have been better. Make it material, but make it black. So I got this. I'm going to go through, show you the parts, like where I've bought them from and the prices and stuff like that, and you'll be able to see them in better detail in a moment. But yeah, got this thing to replace it instead. It's like a solid plastic strap. Got this from Amazon. Padded strap for the top of your head, and yeah, anchor point there in the back. Because that's the other thing too, is that strap puts all the weight on your face, and after a while you really start feeling the pressure here, especially when it's heating up. It's basically like having a low temperature iron against your forehead, including sort of with the weight, because that's got a bit of heft to it. So thankfully, this back cradle bit sits on the back of your head, and it holds it into place better, along with the top strap. It's a much better strap than that one. And again, it doesn't feel cheap. The plastic and stuff feels as quality as the official stuff. So yeah, that was 2 mods. We'll get to this in a moment. The cable. But yeah, it was a multi-pack sort of deal. I bought one interface, and then I bought a second lot that came with another interface cover, I should say, not interface. But yeah, also got these straps here, the old knuckle straps, and silicone covers. You'll see they're black, they're normally white. The original straps come down through the bottom of your wrists, if you want to use those. And that came with another facial interface, as well as these rubber covers for the sticks. And even these alone, another cheapy thing, but it's much better. One, using the sticks. I know, being a big guy, they just feel better under my thumbs. The other ones felt too small, and this just adds an extra few millimeters to it of thickness. Even with the grips, they're cheap, but they're durable. They're all right. They've got the notches cut into them, so the IRs can be read, and access the buttons and everything fine. The grips work fine. Triggers, everything. Nothing gets caught. And yeah, got sort of like a hexagonal pattern in here. Grip pattern, and they just feel less slippery because the very smooth surface on these. And the sort of stuff that you think Meta would go, looking at their previous headsets, they would go, well, hey, we want people to buy our accessories. Well, we could make accessories like this and not overcharge on them. Because if you've got a choice between something that's $100 and $30, $100 thing might be quality, but the $30 thing will do the job, you're going to get the $30 thing. It makes sense. Yeah, but these are pretty good. They don't seem to be made for big hands. But yeah, I mean, it's good enough that they don't feel like they're strapped in too tight, but like if I strap them on how I feel they should be strapped on, it makes it feel like holds it into place. So weird. So yeah, I tend to have them just so they're holding, but you can see sort of wobble there, but they won't drop if I sort of splay my fingers. And I can always put on the straps for extra security. So yeah, that was another purchase that I feel was necessary, because same thing, the white plastic, it's going to get scuffed, it's going to get dirty. Silicone covers will help protect that, and you don't got to spend a small fortune. But again, I'll show you the prices for those in a bit. Yeah, so there we go. And the final one, there's one you can't see. Also purchased a 25 watt USB-C charger that can deliver about 3 amps or 21 volts of power. It's got more power delivery than the factory charger that was included with this thing, but we'll get into that too in a bit. And so, yeah, finally we have this cable here. It came from Germany, ordered through Amazon. It's the Inuit link cable. And what this does is this has power delivery. There's a little box on the cable, which I'll show you images of shortly. And not only does this deliver data for PC VR, it also provides excellent power delivery because you can basically plug a USB charger into it and send power up the line into the Quest. So yeah, that's where my Quest 3 stands at the moment. And just to give you a demonstration here, you know, and, this is one good thing about this thing here. You know, the third party, you can lift up. You got more tilt points, so it's way more adjustable than the strap, which is a bit floppy. The only problem I have with this band here is it touches your ears. But yeah, this also makes it quicker and easier because, as you can see, messing around with these straps, it takes a bit of effort. And if somebody's not experienced and you like hand it over, like Gizmo's head's much smaller than mine, and it can be a pain for her to swap over and with fumble around getting it done. Where this one here, anybody can do it because it sort of fits your head better, more solid, and you've got the clamp that just it moves in pretty easy. You can just sort of like push it, or you can turn the knob and adjust it. The same with the strap, but all around better support, and it's so much easier for anyone to adjust it. Well, I think definitely an improvement over the fabric strap, and then it's just tilt it up like that, push that on there so it doesn't touch your hair. Oh, yeah, that's something we'll get to, one of the problems. Yeah, should have extended it out. That's the max extension, but it fits me. And then just tighten it in so it's snug. Yeah, I'm not going to be showing any footage or anything or streaming from inside the helmet, well, mask or whatever you want to call it, the VR unit, because I've already posted a video when the other day of me showing some sort of like tech demos and Skybox VR. So if you want to see how this thing will sort of perform, to get a good idea, go watch that video and stay tuned in the future because I'll be doing obviously more games and stuff with this thing. Let's get more experience with it and I'll get a bigger and better library. So yeah, let's do a bit of a rundown here on the Vive. The Vive, the Quest 3, wrong VR helmet. They're Rabid. So yeah, just give me one moment. I have a few things lined up, but I forgot to queue up this one. I mean, because the specs are easy enough to look up, but we shall bring up Edge browser. Ta-da! And you shall see it comes in a flavour of 128 gigabytes, 512 gigabytes of internal storage. This one is 128 gigabyte model, full colour pass through and mixed reality capability. So what full colour pass through is the front of the Quest 3 has basically 6 cameras on it, and 2 of those cameras, I believe, or a minimum of 2 of those cameras, can show you a video, a 3D or stereoscopic video feed of the world around you. So you can basically leave the headset on and still be able to see and navigate the world. It looks like looking through a webcam, but it's good enough that you can navigate the world in it. It has the 2000 by 2000 resolution per eye pancake lenses instead of the old Fresnel ones. So image quality on it is fairly sharp, and that is, per eye. So each eye has a 2K by 2K screen. And this, I got to say, is amazing. I showed some friends last night. I might show some more demonstrations of it. But basically loaded up virtual desktop, some software that I'll talk about in more details when it came to getting this thing up and running. it's like, yeah, you can play Genshin on like a 20-foot screen. And the video quality is like, looking at an anime, I guess. 1080p looks like 1080p. There's no degradation. It doesn't look like pixely and scaled down. It's sharp and crisp and clear, as good as it would be on your monitor. The processor is a XR2 Gen 2 Snapdragon processor, 8 gigs of RAM. So what that basically means is the Quest 3 is basically an Android phone, but without the SIM card. It's basically an Android device for all intents and purposes, I believe, the same as the Quest 2. The controllers don't have the big rings on them that the Quest 2 had, and they do have haptic feedback, as well as Touch Plus. What that means is, let me just bring up this for a moment, is here on the sides, there are sensors built in there, so if you rest your thumb on it, it'll detect that, and like your VR version of your hand, if you like, you've got a thumb there, when it rests on that, you'll see the thumb pull in, so it can help with giving you a bit more control. It's usually point, grab is point, pulling the trigger and the side button, and then you put your thumb on the joystick and make a fist. Yeah. It's also apparently smaller than the Quest 2. And here, adjustable IPD. A little switch down there. That allows you to adjust the distance between lenses. Excuse me. Seem to be finding my stride now. I think I was a bit off to a rough start tonight on this review. But yeah. Your IPD is your interpupillary distance, if I'm saying that right. And that's the distance between your pupils. You get a number. Like mine, I think is 62 millimeters. So in here, I roll the little wheel. You get a number show up on the screen, and you roll the wheel until that lens matches distance number matches your actual pupil distance. So you get a crystal clear image. The interface as well has two buttons inside that, while tricky, it's like one of those things tricky. Tricky to start, but easy to master. I guess it's the reverse of what you might normally hear. You push them, and then you get sort of slide with your thumb the actual out a bit, because it feels like one piece, but it's sort of like two pieces. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy, and that also allows you to adjust lens distance to improve your visual clarity. So think about it like, focusing pair of binoculars. And also you can move it back as well for people who have glasses, to hopefully give them more clearance between their glasses and their lenses, because obviously if you rub glass against glass, they're going to end up scratching each other. But all round, this thing felt like it was a quality, well, apart from this piece of shit, this thing all round felt like it was a quality, well built. It does feel like I paid $700 for this on Amazon during their Prime Day sales. Normally it goes for $800, the 128 gigabyte model. And the 512 gigabyte model goes for, I would say, about 1,000 Australian dollars. So it's a fair bit more expensive than this. And yeah, it does feel like a device like that. They haven't skimped on the parts and stuff, but the visual experience is a great one, especially for the price range, I guess. But the problem is, because how much would you pay for like a Samsung phone with a HD screen on it, or a Fold or something like that? And that's basically what you got. Screen here, battery, board, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It's got all that. So you can, even pair your headphones and Xbox controllers and stuff like that to it. But yeah, you want 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi So that means that 5 gigahertz being a weaker signal than 2.4, it is stronger. So, but you want to be in the same room as the router. Hence why I bought the router the other day. But we'll discuss that further when I get to that aspect of it. Just still going, trying to give a brief rundown here. Yeah, I believe that's an earphone jack there. I haven't really messed around with that because I don't have any plug-in headphones. And you've got the charge ports here, which even though they're Meta Quest, that's still, I know it's USB-C, but that still feels like the Oculus symbol. And yes, the Oculus sort of is still hanging around though, with the ghosts of the Oculus with this. Has built-in headphones, and this is pretty cool too because instead of headphones sitting on your ears, you've got these slots here that are near your ears, and the sound quality is pretty good and loud enough that if you're like sitting near somebody, they might be able to hear it. Because I was sitting out in the living room, Gizmo was in the bedroom, and she apparently could hear whatever I was doing on this thing because I had the volume up fairly loud. And the sound, I've got to say, is pretty damn good. It was really crisp and clear. So yeah, all around, it is a good machine. Yeah, your volume rockers there. There are charge ports there because you can get docks for it to charge into, but as you can see, yeah, I'm doing it the old charge it via USB-C. And yeah, when I first got this, though, there were some things that sort of weren't very clear, and this has been out for about a year now, I believe, on getting it set up, and it was both sort of easy and a pain in the ass. Because I've got to say, all right, let's just cut to the chase. For the price range, for VR, it's a fairly good experience when it works. And you are going to spend a fair bit of cash on this. So yeah, before actually I get into the cons, so to speak, or what my issues are with this, and yeah, my experience setting it up, running it, and playing it, I'm going to show you the parts that I have ordered for it. So let's bring up the Edge browser again. All right. So first things first, and some of the cons will become very clear here. I bought this a couple of days after owning the Quest. From Officeworks, Signet Power Plus USB-C wall charger, 25 watts white, $30 per charger. It is 25 watts. It is 3 amps, I think it is, as well as 21 volts. As far as I believe, this is a higher power spec than the default Quest 3 power supply. So, yeah, I bought one of those, but before we go into why, instead of just me using the one that came with it, we'll move on to all the parts first. So $29 there. So it's up to $730. Then I ordered one of these, a Ugreen Quest VR link cable, 5 meters, because I didn't, while I have a bunch of USB cables, none of them are long enough to be able to be used as a VR cable unless I daisy chain them together. That did work, but again, we'll get into the setup and stuff like that, and why these sorts of things came into it in a bit. But yeah, this is $44. I think it was on sale and I got it for about $30. I usually buy Ugreen cables because I don't have a problem with them. As you can see, 4 stars. 4 stars has got to be pretty good, eh? Out of 257 ratings. That seems pretty good feedback. But you can see it's designed for the Quest 2, 3, Quest VR headset, the Ugreen link cable, 5 meters, and software unlocks the power of your PC. So with this, in theory, you'll be able to plug it into your PC and do PC VR. And yeah, if you scroll down, there are, and also here we go. Here is the spec, see, VR headset cable, USB 3.1, 3 amps, 240 volts, 5 meters, aluminium alloy and PVC. Um, Something else that I'd already owned, but if you're buying this thing new that you might want to consider is I have two Rumos 10,000 milliamp USB-C power banks. Um, these cost about $30, and that might seem pricey. We can get one like for $10 from the local servo. But the thing is, these are a damn good battery. Um, I bought one years ago for a phone I had that when I was playing a game like Pokemon Go, for example, any games, it just chewed through its battery, much like a Quest 3. We'll get into the power delivery later. Um, and so I bought one of these, probably almost 2 years ago, and the thing goes like a champ. It takes probably an hour or hour and a half, 2 hours to charge, I believe, depending on how you're charging it. Um, but once you've got 4 bars, this thing will last for ages. And as you can see, it's not as small as a credit card. I'll show you exactly how big they are. Just 1 second. But yeah, so it's slightly bigger than a credit card. But yeah, like my Vivo Y12 phone, um, I can probably get like 2 or 3 charges easily out of it for my phone during the day. Um, and it's a 2-year-old battery. So I recently bought another one because, yeah, lasts you all day long. And so I thought, well, when I'm doing AirLink or the wireless Quest, that would be a good way to power them. And from my testing, they do work well with the Quest 3. Really worth having, I think. I think 2 of them, as well as a fully charged Quest 3, that should be adequate. Get me through any sort of play session length that I'm likely to do. But yeah, here's the protective covers I was talking about. I bought one of the face pieces, the interface there, by itself from this company. Fairly cheap. That arrived and I liked it. That's the one that's installed at the moment. So I ordered this kit from them. As you can see, it's $26.99. So what are we up to now? 40, 70 minus also $100. Right, so we're now up to $100 on top of your initial Quest purchase. And if, as I said, I got mine on sale, but regularly it's $800, so we're now up to $900. And I would consider everything I'm showing you here an essential purchase. It's like buying a Lamborghini and your car seats are made out or covered in like oat sacks, like horse feed bags. You know, it's rough, it's uncomfortable to sit on. That's what a stock Quest is like. It's like you got this amazing thing, but it's just so horrible at the same time. But you can remedy it, but it's going to cost you to remedy it. But before we get even further into that, let us continue. Yeah. Oh, Helix, hello. Hi, Okamara VR. Sorry, guys, I hadn't scrolled down far enough, so I didn't see the chat. How you going, guys? I'll answer any questions after I finished basically doing my coverage, all right? So yeah, up to $100, but yeah, there's the thumb pads too there. But yeah, that's cheap. It's $26.99. It's silicon. You get what you pay for and what you'd expect, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good for the price. Now here's the head strap. Oh, it's on sale now. It's even cheaper than when I bought it. Because yeah, as you can see, it was $29.99. I mean, basically, I could return it, I guess, and reorder it at a cheaper price, but that's scummy, I think. But then again, I wouldn't have a problem with ordering a second one. And again, this was essential because that stock strap is so awful. And as you can see, out of 110 ratings, it's basically 4.5 stars. And I would agree with it. It feels quality. I've had no problems with it. It doesn't feel like a cheap product. The latch on the back feels a bit a bit loose, but it does the job. The clicky, ratchety feel, but it does feel, everything feels solid. I can't complain there. The hinges work well. It clips onto the Quest well. I haven't felt any movement or anything in it, so I can recommend that one too. And finally, another link cable, 5 meter VR cable by Inu link cable, 5 meter VR cable. And this is a power delivery cable. As we can see here, you have a regular USB A, I believe that's the square one, and USB C. And then in the middle, well, not in the middle, but up the cable a bit, you have this little box here. And there is a USB-C connection on it. And you can plug a USB charger or some other kind of USB power source. I haven't tested it, but I could probably chuck my 10,000 milliamp batteries in there. And I might try that because it might be interesting to see what that does. Yeah. And yeah, because this thing is a curious beast. This thing always felt like magic with the Quest 3. All I can say is, if you want to do PC VR, and as you can see, it's compatible with the Oculus 1, 2, 3, and Pico 4, and it lives up to that. And it's 5 meters long, and it's a hefty boy. Like, in the box arrived, it doesn't feel cheap. This thing feels fucking premium. Excuse my French. But this is critical. This is essential. If you only buy one thing for your Quest 3 for PC VR, make it this cable and that $20 bloody USB-C wall charger from Officeworks. And again, none of this is sponsored. No affiliate links and shit. I'm not making no cash off this. This is just my experience. I buy things to use for myself. I don't have a big cupboard full of GPUs and 10 VR headsets and shit like that. I'm an everyday person like you, buying this shit out of my own pocket, and I'm just sharing my experiences. And yeah, no affiliate links or any crap like that. Except for stuff like, you see this, it's code. I don't make nothing of that. I don't know. That's already on the page. If you go there yourself, you got Google, search it. But yeah, those are pretty much everything I have had to buy. Excuse me. It's tooth and time as I took a break from the teeth. So, all right. Well, I've gone into some of the couple of the ones like, this strap here being just much better experience. It really takes the weight off your face, supports the headset better. It's pretty good. I would probably want to get a Bobo VR headset. I think there's an S3 or something that's called. That has a magnetic battery that snaps in and out. That's apparently be able to keep it charged, acts as a counterbalance. It's got like a Halo-y, or like the PlayStation VR style, where you have the piece up here that goes across your forehead for better support. It's got a built-in fan for cooling. And that's like a Primo headset, but that's like $150. They got a cheap one, and the cheap one's like 80 or something like that, but the battery's only like 6,000 milliamps, so it wouldn't even last as long as the batteries I've got. But convenience and stuff. But speaking of batteries and things, this is where we start having issues with the Quest 3. I guess we should start with setup. Now, to set it up, you do need a Meta account. There is an app too that can go on your phone. I think you have to install that too. But that's not such a bad thing, because it's basically, you can cast to it like you cast to a TV and stuff, so you can see what's going on in here. So if you've got a noob that you're giving VR, showing VR for the first time, or the first time they're using it, you can cast it, put it on, set it up to cast, hand it over to them, and you can look on the screen and see what they're doing and what they're seeing, so you can help them go, oh, yeah, navigate to that menu, press this button, all right, do that. So that's all part and parcel, I guess, of this sort of technology, is you've got to use an app. But you don't need to have it running while you're using this. It's more like a companion app, optional to some degree. But it does games in several different ways as well, and apps. It has the installing them locally, to the device itself through the MetaQuest store. It's like, I guess Google Play, where you go buy a game and then you download it, all digital. And you're only limited of how many games you can download by your hard drive size. Oh, I've got to take that out. That was not feeling good. Forgot to put a mint in. But yeah, most of the games I've noticed are mere gigabytes in size. Yes, there are bigger games and things like that. But a lot of the games, the way they get around it is, I tried one game after the fall. I wasn't impressed with it, got it refunded. But that is one that comes with a PC VR version, and that goes through the Oculus PC VR store. There's the Meta Quest store and the Oculus Rift store. But they sell games that'll work on this through PC VR, even though it's Oculus Rift. So some of them, they have a dual buy or cross buy thing, where if you buy one copy of it on the Quest 3 only store, or the Quest only store, where it installs locally, you'll get a copy on the PC VR store, and they'll be the same game, but there will be differences. Like, for example, after the fall on this, it's quite clearly noticeable that textures are lower quality than the PC VR version, and it's super noticeable. Like the detail on your gloves, and you look at your hands, it looks pretty high detail, high res, but in here it looks almost like a PlayStation 3 graphics, I guess you'd say, or even that. But yeah, there are definitely downscales the same games on the standalone versions, and that's why you want a cable and PC VR if you want to get the really high res stuff. For clarification, I guess I should say, yeah, I've got my still got an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 with 32 gigabytes of DDR4, ASRock B450 Pro 4 motherboard, and a Gigabyte WindForce RTX 2060 factory overclocked, 6 gigabytes of VRAM on it. So that's what I'm working with when I've got this, and I've also got a 750 watt thermal take power supply. So GPU wise, by modern day standards, I would say my 2060 is like the bare minimum you need to really play PC VR. If you want to play anything modern, that is. I think, that system would be almost like high end for 2020 VR games. Now, speaking of the power supplies and things, we better move on to this now. The other ways of doing games, you can do Steam Link or Steam VR. And there's various ways of getting to that. You can use Steam Link, which is an app built in. Like I said, you've got an app store like you would have on Google Play or the Apple Store. You buy that. In this case, with Steam Link, it's free and it's already pre-installed. So you just start that up and Airlink over or cable to your computer. I recommend going with the cable if you're doing PC VR, but Airlink can work with this as long as you adjust things accordingly. And that is when it all works. But let's recap. You have the Meta Quest store, the PC VR Oculus store, and then you have Steam VR, and then you can potentially have things like Open Composite and Virtual Desktop and Big Screen Plus to get your PC VR. So there's so many different ways to get your games going on this. And I'm amazed at some of the problems I was having and what it was that fixed them. Because I was thinking, I said the specs of my computer, and at a point there I was like, is my computer capable of this? But I'd seen sort of examples that it could be. But yeah, let's get moving on to that. So yeah, I said, it's so hard. Oh, I want to love this thing, but I did come this close to sending it back to the store, as we're about to get onto. And so we'll answer your questions, Helix, if you're still watching. Anybody else? I'm happy to answer anything if I forget to cover something. Is as great as this machine is, so many bad design choices in it. They made it slimmer, for example. Great, but you know what? that came at the cost like the battery. The battery on this is underpowered. It should have been swapped out with something like it should have at least a 10,000 milliamp battery in this, I reckon. Hey, buddy. I'll be on the Discord, but I don't want to chuck the headphones on. What do you reckon? Shave the head and the beard. And what's funny, you know what's about the beard? Last night, I was on the webcam and somebody turns around and goes, well, she noticed that I had the beard. And she's like, oh, just that you had a beard. She goes, wow, that really suits you. Looks good. And I was like, oh, awesome, thanks. I said, but unfortunately, Gizmo doesn't like beards, so I'm going to shave it off because it's the first proper beard I ever bloody have grown. I've done a goatee before, but especially normally after a few days of growth, I'll get itchy, so I'll shave it off. Plus, Gizmo has always said that she doesn't like beards and whiskers. I keep looking over here because that's normally where my webcam is. Today I've got it on this monitor for lighting reasons. And I shaved it off, and when Gizmo noticed, she goes, oh, you actually look good in a beard, because that's the first time she's ever seen me with like a full beard. And I took it off because I thought, like, oh, I'll take it off because I know it annoys her. I was like, being lazy for a month or so. Anyway, that's my beard story. I was like, oh, I shaved my beard off, and I didn't have to. People actually like me with it. Anyway, it's like maintenance because it starts growing over your lip, and you've got to sit there trimming it, and yeah, fuck that. I'll just take it all off. Nice and smooth and clean. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. The setup experience. We'll start there. Because I'm going to say, yeah, we'll get to the summary, but I just want to get all the bullshit out of the way with this thing. And that is, it is very both simple to set up and a pain in the ass to set up. Like, it has a very basic settings, but there are ways to get into more advanced settings where you can tweak things for your set to so that you can get the best performance out of your system. In a lot of cases, this will default to defaults or basic settings that will hopefully run on your machine like it tries to, I guess, find something that won't, even the most basic computer won't crash or whatever, or this thing won't crash out. And then you can go in and tweak it. So if you've got a really good system, like, got 2060, it'll do settings so it won't, your 2060 can at least run it, even if it's at a bad frame rate. But it'll be perfectly fine for something like a 4090, and then you can go in and tweak the settings. But even then, that can be a pain in the ass depending on, there's a third-party app, it sort of makes life easier in Steam to some degrees. But, signing up and getting booted up and everything wasn't that hard. Just like a mobile phone, you hold down the power button for a couple of seconds, you get the Meta logo, it makes a chime, it's on, you get a white light up here if it's on and not plugged in. If it's plugged in and charging, that light will turn orange, and if we're plugged in and charging and it's fully charged, that light will turn green, and you also get a light up here in the middle of it. And I guess it's like just setting up a Android phone or any other sort of internet connected device. You just you create an account, you sign in, you follow the prompts. They always have these on screen quick guides these days. You tick yes, no where you need to. I agree, I don't agree. Turn off and off. On and off the things you want, connect to your Wi-Fi, obviously, because this thing is, it is wireless. I've got a cable on it, but it is, that cable is not plugged in. I could turn this on, wear it around. Because it is completely wireless. Well, hybrid, I guess, part cable, part wireless, depending on how you want to use it. And that will also affect your game quality and stuff like that too. But where it comes in, you start getting issues is when it comes to tweaking things like changing your refresh rate, because this thing can do from 75 to 120 megahertz, hertz refresh rate. And this can affect things like how smooth the frame rate is, screen tearing, that sort of stuff. But yeah, the higher the refresh rate you have, the better it is on your eye, sort of thing. But it'll use more power. The same as, more things that are computational. You've got to do more high poly models, and those high poly models are going to run your CPU and GPU more and stuff like that, and textures and things, and it'll get hotter and burn through the battery faster. And you can turn those down and up and tweak them to make yourself comfortable and give you the experience that you're happy with. But I found 75 hertz wasn't too bad. It'll save the battery, and I've been messing around with 80 or 90. But I guess if I was using this cable, it's going up to 120 hertz. However, to get to such settings like that, it's a lot of messing around, because it's like got two on the taskbar. Here we go to get to the complaints. It's got, adjusting the strap, putting this thing on, doing the IPD, adjusting your focal length on the interface and all that sort of stuff. Piece of cake. But the software side of things, the settings, it's a pain in the ass. You've got two settings options. One in the library comes up, and that's an advanced settings. And then down on the taskbar where your clock in the shit is, your system tray. You've got another, but you click on that and you get more settings, but they're basic. But you can turn on like AirLink on and off and stuff like that in there. Then this thing has a whole bunch of features. A lot of them come out as experimental that they add when they roll out updated firmware. But they're labelled experimental, so you've got to go in and turn them on. Like lay on your back mode, where if you put this on and you're in a virtual environment by default, you lay down and you're like this and you want to watch like a movie up on the ceiling. Your movie will be over here. You got to go into the experimental area and enable lay down mode, and then you can set it up so that when you do your remote and everything, you can move the screen up in front of you. However, it's experimental, so you get the problem of some games will not detect your scale properly, and like you might join a game and you're a giant in it, and you've got to go into that setting and turn off lay down mode so that you can calibrate your height correctly. So you're not too tall or too short. Because I've even had people like I joined, and when I was, I can't remember which game it was, I tried briefly. Oh, it might have been Horizon Worlds. Meta's a social hub kind of, their sort of version of VR chat, but a bit more colourful and tamer, I guess, to some degree. Shit, what was I saying there? Well, yeah, multiplayer. It's got a microphone built into it. Sound quality on it's okay. Not bad. I would say it's equal almost to my desktop. Apparently it was shit when they came out, but they've updated that through firmware. But yeah, a lot of those experimental features, you'd think, oh, why aren't they actual features? But there's a reason why. Some of those features, when you enable them, will consume your battery more. And this is what the problem with the Quest 3. It's almost like the more you enable it to be the machine it can be, what it's designed to be, the faster your battery will get eaten. But I really want to just discuss that on its own. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think at the moment of other stuff we can talk about. Can't fault the sound. Sound is great. Tracking is great. Hand tracking even is great. But hand tracking, that's another one. It is a experimental feature. You've got to enable it. So once it's enabled, though, if you use it, it will, yeah, because again, here we go again. It's more computational intensive than just using the sticks, like these. They're easy to track and button presses, and it has to follow your hand. So that makes it use up more hardware resources, which again, it consumes in more power. You sort of see where we're going in theme here with the Quest 3 and power. And it's a common knowledge, I know, everybody knows about the power issues with it. But the thing is, yeah, it's easy to get around those limits if you know what you're doing and you're willing to make some sacrifices. But I have found the holy grail. And I haven't really put this to the test yet. I've only just sort of tested it out. And we'll get into that when we get to the power delivery. But, yeah, it was fairly straightforward. So to start off with this, I tried some VR games. I messed around. Obviously, you look through the panels and the control panels. You click an app here and there. You have to download and install the Oculus Meta app or whatever it is. shows your PC VR game libraries and can, I guess, acts as an intermediary between the Quest 3 and the Steam VR. And yeah, not the greatest design thing, but you can sort of bypass that with things like virtual desktop. But then it's like, okay, on top of all the money we spent, what do we do? Um, what were we up to? We got to 30, 70, 100, 125, 155, $200. $200, all those parts I showed you before. So that takes this thing up to $1,000 machine, and that's the 128 gigabyte model. So if you're buying the 512 gigabyte model, you're probably going to easily crack $1,200 if you do it. I would never normally pay for something like this. I probably should have got two bloody Quest 2s, and if you can still buy a Quest 2 at the moment, I would probably go that way because you can get two of them, so you can play with your partner or play with your kid or whatever like that. But this one, it's going to be playing by yourself because there's another problem with this thing is I don't know anybody who owns one of these. I know other people that play VR, but not who owns this. And so you've got to worry about things like crossplay. Can I play games with my friends through this that are on Steam, for example, that don't have a Quest 3, so they don't have the Oculus store, they don't play Oculus versions of games. And I'm not really one to play with randoms and strangers. So yeah. But yeah, I should say the tracking, everything on this, well, I was going off on tangents, is really, really good. Head tracking, everything, I can't fault it. As long as you got this strapped to your head pretty good. I've never found it, slipping or moving the entire time I used it. It stayed in place. Bit of messing around because you've got to, you really take some time moving it up and down before you lock it into place, find where it sits the best, as well as what matters is where you look at the lens. You want to try and get your pupils really centered on it, regardless of how it feels comfort-wise. And this is where one of these is good because you turn it back and forth like that. Because sometimes when I get it, it feels like it sits right there on my brow really heavily. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's where it feels the most comfortable. But it doesn't mean that my eyes are lined up with the lenses properly, so I'm not getting as sharp an image. So you want to sort of be like, get it into where you get an image up and move it around until you can see how where it's the sharpest, not where it's the most comfortable, but where the image is the most sharpest. That's where you lock it in. So that's the sort of thing to be worried about these systems too. Using lens, you always got curvature. There's going to be points of where they're at their most crystal clear and where they're going to be distorted. No real light leak as such. Although, as I said that, I noticed here a little bit, so that might be sort of part air ventilation. But where it is, I have not really noticed it as well, and that probably is less noticeable with it. No, that is already pushed all the way in on that side. Yeah. And so yeah, that was the other thing too, the cooling. It gets too bloody hot. Even if you don't have that silicon sock on it, the fabric itself, it just, after a short while of play, I did find standing under a ceiling fan did help a great deal. But if you're in a room where you haven't got air blowing on you, this will get uncomfortable. And again, that's why, I'm looking at a Bobo VR, I think, because all the other options I've seen, it's just basically this add-on fans here, or an interface with fans built in. And they look jank, and most of them got bad reviews. And it's like, so more, to get the one with the fan though, that's like $150 at the moment. So again, what will be $1,200? So to get a better strap with cooling, that's an extra $150. So now we're up to like, what were we, $1,000? So now we're $1,150 for the base model. They are apparently bringing out a cheaper version of this called the 3S. However, it'll have different camera setup, but they'll still do the same thing. I think it's just to visually differentiate them. So if when you see the bowling ball hole ones, here Gizmo's coming in. So say good night. I'm live streaming. Good night. Sweet dreams. I'll come and see you once I've finished here. If you're still awake. Yep. I forgot to tell her that I was streaming. But yeah, hardware wise, I believe they're going to be exactly the same, except for different layout on the cameras. And I've also believe where these have two individual lenses, one for each eye, they're going to be sharing a single screen, which would be like having a phone screen in front of you, but they split it down the middle and put an image on each side of it. And that should allow them to get the cost down. So they can have, I guess, a mid to low range version of this. Some people have guesstimated that they'll probably make, like maybe they'll make a 256 gigabyte version, unless the specs have actually been announced. But so you'll get a cheap version of this, but I'm going to say the BRI I've tried with Fresnel lenses, I just don't like it. It's too noticeable for me. So if you're one of those people who, it bugs you if you see jaggies and things like that, these are the way to go. You can't beat the pancake lenses at the moment in any VR. Fresnel lenses, you're always going to get that Meyer effect or whatever, the fly screen effect as people call it, no matter how good, how high resolution the image is. But it'll make this more affordable. So yeah, that's one thing at the moment. At the moment, if you haven't got shitloads of cash to spend, it's easy to go, oh, that's $700 or $800. That's great. But you're going to have a bad time with this thing. You really, really are. And you got to remember too, like a lot of the games are like $50, especially new ones. And you might be playing games that go for like 15 minutes. So whether you get your money's worth out of those, I'd rather, I'm trying to stick to Steam VR. But maybe I need to make this a two-parter because I'm going to be talking a fair bit about this thing. I should go review part one because, sat there and thought, okay, I'm going to be and it's just like my brain going off on tangents thinking of, I want to discuss this and discuss that. And there's so much to discuss. But I'll see if I can keep it simplified. So Wi-Fi connection, for example, is okay. Had an issue there because that was another purchase actually. Is that almost forgot. How could I forget? I basically got it in the thumbnail. The TP-Link Archer, what is it, AX53 that I bought, the router. That was like $150 as well. Good thing I got my tax return. So I could get that. So what were we, like $11.50, now we're up to $1,300. I should take away the Ugreen Quest VR link cable because I had to send that back. So here's another thing you've got to deal with this is it's hit and miss with accessories. I don't know what the official ones are like, but I'm not paying $100 for what is essentially a USB cable. Even $50, I was pushing it. But I'm glad with the Inouye one that I bought that. But we're going to, I'll cover the power in the end specifically. But the thing is, I have a D-Link router. I could probably look up the actual model number. Hang on, 2 seconds. Yeah, I've got a D-Link DSL 3890 modem router connected to fibre to the node. Disconnected to it fine. It's got 5 gigahertz bandwidth and 2.4 gigahertz hertz bandwidth. They recommend 5 gigahertz for this because you want high bandwidth. This thing does not do well if it's not getting 1200 megabits per second at least. If it drops under 900, you're screwed unless you have a cable connection. Now, when I first set this up and played, I loaded up No Man's Sky on Steam VR. I tried out a couple of tech demos, the sort of ones that I showed in that video where, throwing paper aeroplanes around and shit like that. I got No Man's Sky to load up, and it was low res as hell. It was choppy. This is over the air link, and it was, lag fest. It defaulted to the teleport turning, the insta turning sort of thing like that. And even then it was so laggy and stuff that it did a bit of tweaking, got it working, loading screen and everything was alright. But it was like, it felt like a mix of low medium graphics. But it still looked pretty good and ran alright. Once I got into the game and, I was on my freighter, got in a starship, off I go. yeah, pretty cool. But I was sitting there thinking, this still looks low res. You know, it feels like I'm playing at, at 720p, or even maybe even lower than 720p. But that was day one. I hadn't messed around with advanced settings. I was still learning, still getting a feel for it. But it worked. I also noticed that it was connecting to my DSL, my D-Link router. I did say the model of that, didn't I? And it was getting 1200 megabits per second. I was thinking, great, because I've seen people say you need a Wi-Fi 6 router for these, for the best experience. So I have no problems. Until I was having problems because I tried some of the Quest stuff. It was working, downloading was fine. Managed to play some A Light Dangerous Horizons. What is it? Just A Light Dangerous Horizons, I think it's the DLC. But yeah, played some A Light Dangerous. Played some Quest games. I experimented with the Meta Horizon worlds and stuff like that, and that all seemed to work fairly okay. Some of I played some of the games, and I got this kaiju one versus 3 humans. Kaiju, you're like a Godzilla. You got to smash buildings while 3 other players try to execute you. Oh man, that's one thing. The kids. There are too many damn kids on this. You need more 18 plus spaces or 15 plus spaces, because nearly everything I tried the online stuff for an hour or two, and I've not been back to it because it is just full of little kids, unsupervised children that shouldn't be around adults and things like that, and just hearing weird, bizarre stuff, and it's just annoying. You're having all these little kids run up to you and going, oh, there's one good kid when you play the Godzilla game, it's just like, hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you, can you hear me, can you hear me, can you hear me? And he's like, it sounds like he's 5 years old. And there's lots of that. You can't tell if they're kids or not until they speak. And then nobody seems to know the age limit, because some people said it was 18, and others were saying it was they lowered it to 13, similar to what I think Facebook's age limit was. And then now it's meant to be 10 up. And apparently, if you report kids that are underage, they will get banned. But that feels like a douchebag move. But it's like, man, make some sort of way that you can go, hey, you got my credit card or PayPal or something. That can be a verification system. Now let me fucking in the adult world. And then you can report. Don't feel bad for reporting kids. You want to play a game, people say mute them. And it's like, but then I've got to mute everybody. You sit there spending more time muting people because every 5 minutes, there are new people being thrown into the game with you and stuff. And they're all fucking kids. And unfortunately, in that sort of environment, probably are people that are fucking kids. Because it's not just fucking kids, it's also like fucking kids. Ugh. But, yeah, it's just weird seeing like a 22-year-old guy saying weird shit to like a 10-year-old. It's like, oh, I'm out of here. So I've been sticking to sort of like single-player experiences. Some of those have been great. Playing Tetris, for example, I forget this full title, but it's the VR Tetris. And it's pretty crazy what having like 100-meter tall Tetris in front of you and all these fireworks going off, and all weird ghosty looking fish swimming around and whales, and as you play it picks up, and that's a really well done game. It really made Tetris interesting again. But a lot of the games too, you've got to be careful of, because they look like mobile phone games. Check the date they were brought out at and read the reviews, because there were so many games that it was like, oh, they're 2020 games. But they still want $50 for them. A bit like our Half-Life Alex. That's been out for 4 years now at least, and they're still like almost $100. So what the hell? So it's, again, you start factoring in the price of the games, it starts becoming expensive. And then you might not always get what you want. Like this after the fall, I played that. Probably played it for an hour, and Meta at first wouldn't give me a refund because I refunded that because I was having issues with it. Both the headset version was getting me bad performance, and I couldn't like the movement. It was felt jank, and everybody, after reading people going, oh, it's like Left 4 Dead for me, and it was overrated game, and the PCBR version was just as bad, and I was like, this game just doesn't work for me. I want to get a refund, please, and they eventually gave it to me because I was like, look, under Australian laws, this is not what I thought I was getting. It's not working as intended. And they're like, oh, we'll make an exception this time. Gave me a refund. They have a Quest Plus thing similar to PlayStation Plus. I thought, oh yeah, we'll give that a go. And it's like, oh, add these games to your library, but it's like, it adds it to your library, but only as long as you are subscribed. So I'm doing the month trial, then I'll probably cancel it. Because a lot of the games that come up on that, it's also like a Game Passy sort of thing. They've got to be games you want to play. Do you want to just play $12 a month because it's cheap? So you're going to cancel it. Maybe there'll be games that come along and go, yeah, you know what, $12 to play that for a month, that's okay. Because it installs it to your headset. So, it's a full game. It's not like it streams it like cloud gaming. It's just that once your Quest Plus runs out, apparently, you lose access. The games just won't load for you. But I've got a fair few games. I've probably got at least 20 games installed on this. Various sizes. I think the biggest one's like about 5 gigabytes. And I've probably still got 50 gigabytes of space left on it easy. So you can get a fair few games on this. But of course, more modern games, higher res textures and things. So the experience you're going to get there too is the games. Like there's some VR movies, for example. And they had good reviews, so I tried them out. But all the branding is Oculus, where now they're Meta Quest and have been for at least, 2 headsets now. And they weren't a very good demo. It was like they shouldn't show up, I believe, or make a HD version, because it's weird. Most video games, and these are just basically 3D CGI renders, same as running a game, but you got no control except for moving your head around. Or you might have ones that are interactive, but they look like PlayStation Portable. They're super low res looking. You don't get that 3D depth, and it really undersells these. You go, oh, wow, okay. If it was like upscaled to HD, if you were making like done in 2K instead of that looking like, I don't know, it's almost like 480p 3D resolution. It's blurry, messy, and it's not the headset, it's the software. And I don't understand how that's the problem. I mean, like with PCs, you can change resolution, so you should be able to go, oh, let's add some resolutions, detect the Quest 3, give it a quick patch. And those experiences should be something like, wow. They're not so wow. But there are a lot of apps and stuff, free apps, that are good and things. There's a thing called SideQuest where you apparently get a lot of early access, free Quest games. And apparently a lot of people will, developers will do like betas there. We can play them for free there before they get sold on the Quest store or Steam. And it's basically an app that sideloads the apps to the Quest 3 for you and bypasses it. But then we came to one of the big problems I had with this thing. Excuse me, I'm going to have a smoke break while we go into this. Helix is no longer talking to me. I'm sad. And that is getting this thing up and running properly, because after that first initial test of No Man's Sky to get back on track, I have not been able to get this thing working with the PC VR. Every time after that I tried to start games, my PC would crash. And I was like, holy crap, what's going on here? Like my desktop just completely froze. And I did a lot of searching and things like that. It required me to hold down the power button and do a hard reboot, because I don't have a reset button, because I've got my LED, my RGB lighting on my case hooked up to that. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just bugged, it's crashed, let's try it again. And the same thing was happening. Some games, there's one game called Propagation VR, it's a zombie shooter, free-to-play one from Steam. You only pay to unlock co-op mode in it, apparently. But it's basically, a pretty high detail. That works great. But if I try playing No Man's Sky, also Into the Radius 2, a game I bought recently, that just came into early access. It's like, I got it early, and I've only been able to play it once. Every other time I tried to load back into it, it would crash. And I'm like, what's going on here? The PC would crash. This is on Airlink. If I tried to plug it into that cable, the U-green cable, it would connect to my PC, but the performance was terrible. Everything would start breaking down. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Why was it working now? It's not. I thought, hopefully, it's not my computer. As far as I know, I should meet at least the basic specs for this. And kept on getting crashes, and I was getting frustrated. I searched online, and I saw a lot of people were getting this sort of same problem. They're like, bloody Steam Link, because it always seemed to be Steam Link stuff. I seem to have more, no problems running the Oculus Store PC VR games. I had no problems running the games installed to the headset, but I was having a lot of issues running Steam VR games. That was mostly where I was getting the problem. I was like, well, most of my games are Steam. And I saw other people having that, and I saw all sorts of fixes and stuff like, oh, unplug one of your monitors if you've got multi-monitors, and then start the game and then turn off the remaining monitor or whatever. And it's like, tried that and got a little bit of success, but No Man's Sky kept on crashing. I couldn't get that to load again. After the first crash, it just wouldn't play nice. I could get into menus, but then things would break down, and it was driving me nuts. And I thought, I was reading about power supply issues because also, the battery was draining pretty quick, I noticed, on these things. And I'd heard of that they had like a 2-hour limit on them. But there's some things about that limit they don't tell you. But anyway, I was getting really stressed out because I wanted to play my games and I couldn't. And I searched for answers and I couldn't find any because a lot of the same people having similar problems, and with Steam VR, there was no answers provided though. And some of these posts were like a year ago, 10 months ago on Reddit and places like that. And same problems that you go look at the forums, even for Meta, and there was no answers on there either, really. All the ones that people were doing, providing, weren't working for me, including factory resets and, do this, do that, hold this button down while you hold that one down. Instead of doing a reset, you get the Android. It's just, However, I even tried Open Composite. That helped get, that worked with Into the Radius too, because I was like, I've got to bypass Steam. Steam is where I'm really getting the problems. Open Composite worked like once, and then again, computer went back to crashing. I tried using Meta's own virtual desktop when you plug it in PC VR. It connects to like a Steam home type of setup. And you can even launch Steam through that. And same thing. Oculus games would work, Steam games would crash and lock up my computer. I changed settings, tweaked settings, I changed power settings. Hey, how you going, baby? Thanks for tuning in. But changing all these settings and stuff like that, nothing seemed to be working. And even you see everybody talking like about, try big screen plus beta and try virtual desktop. And I got those, and same thing, hassles. Then I noticed that when you did the USB test on that Ugreen cable I had, because I also noticed on the Airlink, I was now connecting at like 906 megabits per second instead of the 1200, and then other times it was like less than that, 700, 300, and I was like, what's going on? Even the cable, it was saying, now I had it plugged into a USB-C 3.2 connection on my motherboard, and I've also tried a regular, USB-A, the standard rectangle USB plug type. Plugged it in. Did like a test the connection sort of thing like that. Had issues with that running. Power light was coming on like charging and things, but I left it overnight and it was like still charging the next day where it should have been charged up in like an hour. I was like, something's going wrong here. Virtual Desktop helped me there and some other USB programs. I think it was like USB Tree DView. And that allowed me to see some settings, and it was detecting the cable as USB 2 and also delivering USB 2 power. Now, I had some other Ugreen cables like Daisy chained together, plugged in the same connection, connected that to the Oculus. And the connection speed jumped up. It went to 3.2, but I was still getting a crap sort of experience because it was still not charging enough. Over that 900 milliamps, unfortunately, was what my USB-C connection puts out. It wasn't enough to keep this charged up, so you get the PC VR. But you sort of got to downscale everything to try and conserve that battery. And I just could not get it to convert to USB to 3.2. Now, I do have a USB hub that has USB-C to power delivery to it. I tried that. I plugged that in. I then plugged in the official charger to that into the USB-C power delivery port, and then plugged in those USB-C cables, and that was picking up as 3.2, but it was only still charging like it was a 900 milliamps, that power delivery plug-in didn't seem to do anything. And I was getting really frustrated. So I've sent the Ugreen USB cable back because I've read the reviews and other people having the same problem. Seems to be a bit of a lottery. So that's where I got this one here, because the majority of reviews are positive. And I also got the 25 watt power supply as well, because I did some reading about specs and things like that. But yeah, the main thing was I wasn't getting the data delivery I needed, and then same with the router. I could connect some Quest games and things work I could join, but it would be a bit online stuff, but it would be laggy and things, but I wasn't getting that 1200 megabits per second. I even modified my router settings so this had its own the 5 gigahertz all to itself, no other devices on there. I sat in the room across from it where I was getting 1200 megabits before. I thought the unit might be faulty, and I was thinking about sending it back because I was just getting so pissed off. It was like, over 2 weeks, I've barely used this, really. But then yesterday, or was it today? What's the time? Yeah, this cable arrived. What is GTAG, BB? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. But yeah, this cable, anyway, meant to help with the power delivery. It seems everybody says it's good for Quest 3. I tried that, and this connects as a USB 3.2 device. Data rates are lowish, but it seems like a strong connection. I've got to look, maybe there's some tweaking I can do, but it was playable. I played No Man's Sky on this and stuff like that, but I'm not going to talk about the power aspect of it yet. So yeah, it was the cable that was at fault. My system can handle it, but with the Airlink, yeah, I set up that Archer AX53 and to my regular modem. Yeah, connected a WAN port on the Archer into the D-Link Ethernet port. Fired her up, got it set up. Connected now, only made it so only this device, the Quest 3, connects to it. And I plugged my desktop directly into the router because I couldn't get to the router settings through the D-Link. I had to be connected directly to the router to access settings. Plus I thought, well, that's even better because we're going to bypass the D-Link, go straight into that router and transmit directly to this thing. And connected, and 1200 megabits per second, even though I can do 3000 megabits per second, but it was solid, it didn't drop. I played some VR on Airlink, no issues. So yeah, that's what it was. And also the Steam games with this cable, no longer was my computer crashing. I can play No Man's Sky. I've managed to get back into the Radius too. For some reason, it was just there, that other cable, as well as not being able to get fast enough networking, seemed to be what was crashing it. Because now I've got that other router and a faster transmission sort of thing, more bandwidth. I haven't had any Steam games crash. Same with the PC VR cable. When I plug it directly into my computer now, it works. Because the 2060, it has USB hardware on it, oddly enough. When you install your drivers, it offers to install USB-C drivers. I think the original plan was to hand off the slot or socket, plug hole, whatever, to the USB-C port on the motherboard. And I don't know if that works properly or not, but yeah, it was working. I got No Man's Sky, Light Dangerous, and everything else I tested worked. No computer crashes or freezes. So that's kind of crazy that, yeah, one, having a cable that's detected at the proper specs removes any issues. And also, yeah, going to that Wi-Fi 6, even though technically my older Wi-Fi should work, because I've seen it work, that was the solution to all my problems. An expensive solution, but a solution. So now I can do VR and stuff. So, yeah, it's an expensive bloody thing, and it's been a frustrating experience, but now it's working, and I haven't actually sat down and played and relaxed and just done it normally. I feel like a technician You know, it feels like a 3D printer all over again. It's a lot of bloody work to get something going that should just work. And it's kind of crazy the differences that people can have. And you've even seen people where they go, oh, they fixed the firmware issue because there was a problem with Quest and a lot of routers where it wasn't maintaining the bandwidth and stuff. There's even things like, oh, you got to go into your router and change the different frequencies. Is it 40 megahertz? Is it 60, 80, 90? You got to set the right bandwidth, pick the right channel, make sure it's all exclusive. And there's all different things that can affect whether you get the right outcome or not. And so let's move on to the biggest thing with this thing, and that I keep saying we're going to discuss later, and that is power. Power, power, power. Now, I can put this thing on fully charged, and it'll be 100%. I can put it on, turn it on, just boot it up, and then shut it down again. Hold the power button in until it completely shuts down. Not standby, shut down completely. Powered down. And by the time it shuts down, it'll be 98%. I kid you fucking not. Longer you play it, it does 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels more like you played it for 15 minutes or half an hour. Especially after you've set it all up and everything, it's like, oh, I've got to go put it on to charge. And I think they recommend, say, don't charge it up until it gets below 50%. So it's probably something power cycling to help the battery or whatever. And plus, when you're leaving things, I guess, to sit around too, you also want to drain the battery down to 50%. So you don't want to leave it at 100% and stick it in a cupboard. You want to drain it down to 50% before you put it away for any extended period of time. And depending on your charger, it can take a while to charge. The stock one does it fairly okay, but that 25 watt one I bought, great. That charges it up fairly quickly. And I thought 25 watts, 21 volts, 3 amps. That was, to me, was like, hey man, from what I've read online, those specs blow the stock charger out of the water, which I think is like 17 watts. Because I got a cable, including that U-green cable, which wasn't enough, the computer wasn't enough to charge it properly. But that same U-green USB cable that I sent back, even at USB 2 settings, plugged into the Officeworks 25 watt charger, it charged faster than the Quest ones did. Even faster when I used my USB 3 fast charging cables. So that 25 watt one, $20, definitely was worth it as well. But just for the fact that I didn't have to, probably getting my battery, the Quest battery charged in half the time the Quest one did. However, this thing chews the power. Even when I've had it plugged in directly to a charger from mains power, it'll slow down the drain on this, but it'll still go down. It'll still, you'll get an hour or so more out of it. Same with these battery packs, these Rosmos ones. They're good. I reckon I could probably get another 2 hours out of these. But again, it's going to depend on some settings, which I'll get into. Which I have got into some of them too. Quality settings, things like that. Do you need the Wi-Fi on? Turn it off. Wi-Fi uses power. I think you need the Bluetooth on for these, so you're stuck there. But thankfully, Bluetooth uses less power than Wi-Fi does. Turn down your brightness, even at minimum brightness. Those things is very visible, it's usable at minimal brightness. But like anything with lights, you turn them up brighter. To be brighter, it uses more power. So, of course, turning them down, you're going to save yourself battery. It's things like that, that people won't think of. Turn off experimental features. Don't use hand movement. I use the virtual environments. I don't know if this makes a difference. I might have to test it out, because if you're using pass-through, you've got to imagine, if you're using pass-through, the front cameras are on. So they're using power. It's a bit different, I guess, with the sensors and things that detect your floor and your surroundings. Maybe the cameras are on, but I'd have to imagine if they're transmitting to the both screens in pass-through as well as rendering graphics, computer graphics over the top of them, that it would have to be using more power. So yeah, I experimented with some of those things, and I noticed that different settings will change the power, even the refresh rate. 120 hertz, while more comfortable for your eyes, will use up more power than 75 hertz, and that too was getting annoying. Especially because I've got a strap that doesn't have a battery, so I've got to print a mount for that to go up there, or I've got to buy something like a Bobo VR, which I've probably got to do because I don't have a fan, or I've got to buy some crap fan that looks ugly as hell there. At least the Bobo VR looks still sort of nice, I guess. But yeah, thankfully, these made it bearable. But then I've got the problem of, I've had them in my back pocket and then I forget about them. And I've gone take the headset off, put it on the couch, go to walk off, and I've always had to yank the Quest off the couch, just caught it at the last second. So you've got to be careful of that. I missed these two. These go through the power fairly quickly. In 2 weeks, they're already almost dead and up to be replaced, the batteries. See how we go. Got these Amazon Basic AA's. But the same thing, these, comfort-wise, I should have discussed these earlier, but comfort-wise, I've got big hands and these just feel weird. It's almost like where the buttons are, I think, all right, that's the left-handed one. You see, your thumb goes there straight up, and you think, well, going straight up makes sense. But if I hold it with the right hand, that feels more comfortable. If they reverse the buttons. That's just for me. Also, these grips are short as. My hands get on there but barely, and even when I'm holding it, there just seems to be something off about it. And even when I move the stick, even though my thumb's straight and I move it side to side, especially with the right one that usually handles turning and stuff, I might go to turn, and it walks forward. And turn the other way and it walks backward. It seems to be hard sometimes to get your left and right going, because it's just the way that your thumb sort of sits. I never have that problem with an Xbox controller. So it's like getting in that spot so that you don't have to, you get left and right, forward and back the same every time, but also feels comfortable, not weird, because you get it where you can reach the controls, or it feels comfortable in one area, then you can't get the trigger properly or the grip. And then, got oops. That's why I got these straps. I'm going to drop them like that. They could feel like they could be a little bit higher, but yeah, these work all right. They're enough for you to sort of be able to let go and spread your fingers a little bit, so you can give them a bit of a break. Because otherwise, you need something like this. Because even these wrist straps, you can drop them and dangle them down or from your wrist. But there are games where you've got to constantly hold your hand like that, and you don't want to. You want to, and especially because you've probably got a tighter grip than say 360, because 360 you don't got to grab all the way around this part here. It's 360, that's an Xbox One controller, but it's 360 style. And so getting them comfortable and in the right spot can be a bit of a challenge. I really feel like they're designed for smaller fingers or smaller hands, but the shape and stuff is weird for me. It's like you need a bigger grip, and I think that's what they should have done, was made them a bit bigger, because hey, there's a lot of adult men that'll be playing this shit. And it's probably easier for smaller people to use a controller made for bigger people. So there's that. But the thing is too, I don't think there's any third-party controllers. You get third-party interfaces, straps, batteries, all sorts of things like that. But I don't think anybody makes a third-party one of these. And these controllers, if they die, that's $120. I think it's like $100 to $120 per controller. I think it's more like $100. But that's insane, considering, hey, an entire Xbox controller, I think got that one for $60. And even I thought that was overpriced still. So you're looking at $200 there. If something happens, you lose them or they get damaged, $200 to replace at least, minimum. And that's the one item I think, like I said, you can't get from a third party. Maybe you can Bluetooth other devices to it. But I haven't really seen any proper Quest 3 knockoffs. And, you see Nintendo Switches and other consoles and stuff, and there's knockoff controllers aplenty everywhere. No problems. Like official Switch controllers, last time I saw them were like $115, but you can get a $30 set for them for a Switch if you don't want to pay that much. So a lot of the accessories too. I'm saying a lot of them starting to get a bit croaky. But a lot of the Quest stuff is expensive if you buy it directly from Meta, and they sort of shot themselves in the foot, because they could have included something like this. If this costs $30 from Amazon, or at the moment I think it's like $20, You know, makes them cost the company like $10 their slave labour to make it. So chuck one in. The same as, maybe throw in a free game too, because $50 to get a half decent game. And some of the older games, and like, yeah, still $50, even though they're a few years old. And I've already sold millions of copies of them. But most games, non-VR games, they go cheap after a bit of time. At least Bethesda, they try to give you a new version of the same game and they sell it to you. But yeah, a lot of games should get like they need an update or an upgrade, or they need to make it clearer that this was built for Oculus Rift, or this was built for the Quest, or the Quest 2 won't look as good on the Quest 3. The hit and miss, but yeah, I'll do a follow up video once I had a chance to really play some more games and stuff on this. But yeah, to get back to the power, hello. Oh yeah, I can't believe how much the Vive controller. I mean, compared to most PC VR headsets, this is still a bargain. PC VR is not goddamn cheap. However, Meta technically doesn't support PC VR, because if you look at like the Steam VR Steam Link issues I was talking about, that thankfully this cable and the router have seemed to fix. Meta says, contact Steam VR support. Contact Steam, not our problem. We don't provide support for this. And as one person pointed out on their forums, it was like, but you guys have the app pre-installed on the Quest 3, the Steam Link. Doesn't that not imply that you do indeed support the Steam app? Sort of dumbass sort of response. Is that to say that you don't support something that comes as stock on your... I didn't install Steam Link, it came there. The virtual Meta desktop. Because there's things like that too. It'll try and auto-connect to that when you plug the cable in. So if you're thinking about charging by your PC, you can fight with it, because it'll go... Yeah, it must be a setting there, because it used to pop up saying, USB cable connected, do you want to allow it to share files? And you're like, oh yeah, I want to share files. And it's just like, bam, loads up the Meta PC VR stuff. And it's like, no, I want to just maybe transfer some files from my Quest, some screen captures or something like that to my computer. But there's no doubt a setting for that. But virtual desktop, I got that. That didn't help with the issues I was having. But however, now the issues are resolved. That seems to be a lot better. I can bring up my desktop computer very easily, navigate it as if I'm at it. I have had a few bugs where there's been times where, I've played a game, launched it through there, Steam VR, when I exit out, it's like my right controller won't work, my left one will, you go with the pointers, you can see them. But this one's got the pointer and I can click inside the window, but I can't click things like the exit button and shit, and I've got to like manually shut it down. And that can cause problems because the app will still be running, or the server app stuff that they need, the companion software on the computer will still be running. So every time you try to start it up, it's still in that bugged out state, and you have to like crash it on the desktop. But when it works great. And that's where I managed to see that I was getting that connection. With the PCBR, I used USB view, and I think it was a D3 view, but also virtual desktop. And I'm not getting as good speed with this, but as I said, I might have to change some settings and things. However, let's get on back to the power stuff and this cable. And why, if you do nothing in your life, if you do not buy this cable, do not buy a Quest 3. I am not paid. I am not a sponsor. I am not sponsored. This thing, when I had plugged it into my PC, now when you plug it in, you plug it into your PC, you plug a USB power supply into the little box, you plug it into your Quest, and you get the little light glow on the end of it, and a light will light up near the box to show that it's powered. And you'll see now the Quest's power light, charging light's there, it's green, so it's fully charged. When I got it to this state and I booted it up, I was messing around in menus and settings, 5 minutes later, still 100%. I thought, I'm doing light task. All right, let's start up a game. Start up No Man's Sky. Play a bit of it, exit out, nothing bad happens. I'm now playing it through this, managed to play it. Again, probably could adjust some settings to make the performance better, but it was playable. And games like A Light Dangerous, for example, work way better, but that seems really well optimized for VR. But again, it's early days for me. I'm still learning about this thing and what the best settings are for my setup. And I really want to try and get a good balance of performance and quality. I don't want to play a blurry mess that looks like, a game from the early 2000s. But yeah, I played about now No Man's Sky, exited out, messed around with some on the Quest apps. Um, I watched a VR movie from the Quest store or the Oculus store, exited out, went to go shut this down, still 100%. And that's using that 25 watt adapter that, when it's plugged directly into this thing, will not keep the Quest charged while you play. But this cable, when it's plugged into my computer with that same USB charger, it's keeping it 100%. So I think with this is how PC VR should be. I think if you have a motherboard that has PD, it's called, which I'm guessing is an acronym for power delivery, but a PD, and there's another type of 2 letters, cable or USB. It should give enough power. But yeah, like I said, the Quest wall charger was not enough. The 25 watt one, which should have been, isn't. And also be aware of that too, that you might use your firmware. But I've heard with the problems with like the connection issues with the router and me buying a new one, that it can be hit and miss. You can buy a router and it works just fine, or your current router can work, and then one day you wake up and it just craps itself. So I'm hoping that won't be the issue, because the one I got, everybody was saying it was bad, but it seems to be working great with this thing. So, cross your fingers and touch wood. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. People got questions for it, or is there anything you'd like me to test or discuss about the Quest 3? Because I think I'm covering a lot of things, and I'm all over the place like I normally am, but I think I'm covering a lot of things that a lot of reviewers don't go over. A lot of them are like, oh, here's a new strap, here's a new battery, here's a new strap. They don't discuss the causes and problems of these things. And like with TP Link, a lot of people were saying, it was Meta, their firmware, that was the problem. And all these companies were trying to work. I see TP Link, they were talking to their customers saying, we're trying to get a Quest 3 so we can test this out. Same sort of shit where Facebook, Meta, Facebook, whatever, should have sent them a Quest 3. But they seem to have genuinely been trying. And when I, updated, first logged into the new router through the desktop, first thing it did was a firmware update. And that was before I tried out the Quest 3 on it. So, yeah, it seems that TP Link in that time, over the last however months, seem to have remedied any problems with that router, if there are any problems with it. But it's still annoying that I've got to, now have a router plugged into my router. But yeah, I guess, it is pretty good. I am getting strong signal at the back of the house with it. I get solid 4 bars here, so the range is definitely better than the D-Link. I might do some tests and connect other devices to it, because it might be a case of the D-Link router, I might turn it into an Ethernet router. Just straight up turn off the Wi-Fi on it. Because, now I've got more Wi-Fi and power usage, so I want to not increase my power bill too much. So yeah, I might have to shut down the Wi-Fi on the other one and connect everything to the new router that's hopefully stronger and better. Maybe keep the 5 gigahertz still to the Quest 3 by itself, or experiment and see if it can handle being on the same network as other devices, because it's meant to have 3,000 megabits per second. So if the Quest 3 is getting 1,200 megabits per second, anything else that connects through the Wi-Fi should still have plenty of bandwidth to connect. And especially if devices that can connect at 2.4 gigahertz can and do connect at 2.4 gigahertz, then it can be less of an issue. But yeah, I can report back that I'm going to say, if you've got a Quest 3, TP Link, if you need a Wi-Fi 6 router, the TP Link AX53, AX3000 Wi-Fi 6 router will do the job, just in case you go reading the reviews. But it's done the job for me, at least. But I've noticed, you definitely got to be in the same room with it still. 5 gigahertz is 5 gigahertz. I haven't done any range tests, though, because of the range of 200 meters, but that depends on, line of sight. Because I would imagine 200 meters is in perfect conditions, where, there's nothing between you and the router. And even inside the house, you've got at least one wall in the way before you go out. But yeah, that's what I'm going to say to you. You need to spend you may, at minimum I would say, because I'm going to say the strap, essential. The silicon covers, essential. If you want to do PCVR, that cable is really essential. That cable, yeah, life changing. But if you were just going to play Quest 3 games exclusively, you could probably, you maybe don't need the cable because you just get away with the Airlink. If you've already got a Wi-Fi 6 router, that's good. Well, you won't need a new router. But the head strap, shit. There's not a person on the planet who would disagree with me. You will want to swap that out. And I can say, if you're on a budget, because you've already spent $800, maybe $1,000, if you've got the 512 gigabyte, that $30 strap will do the job. And you just skip back through the video. And like I said, I don't get, if you go search it for yourself, you won't find links below. You'll find it yourself and make up your own mind. But I can say, yeah, so far so good with all those purchases. But if you do not make any, if you do not upgrade, you don't have to buy those specific things, but swap that strap out for another strap. And if you have the money, you might want to consider getting one of those Bobo VR S3s, or if you haven't got as much, the M3, I think it's called, with the built-in batteries. But even those, you're going to have to buy multiple batteries. I think you need an actual charger for the new the S3 version, but I haven't used one, so I don't know. Only just going by what I've seen. And whereas like the original one has like a USB port, so even if you're not using a VR, you can use the battery on the M3 as a charge your phone or whatever. It's only 6,000 milliamp battery. The new S3 one, it's got a more powerful battery, but it's only got the connections for the headset, so you can't. I believe you can't charge it or use it to charge a phone. I could be mistaken there, but I know that they bring out like a charging tray that you can put up to like 4 batteries on. But that will extend your gameplay. But yeah, those batteries are basically the same equivalent of that, and they're a lot more expensive than that. So, but if you buy a Bobo headset, you're going to have to use their batteries. So I recommend you don't want to go that route. You don't want to pay $150. You want to look $30, $90 to get the same sort of battery power at least as that S3 for almost half the price. But if you want the fan and a better headset overall, you're going to have to pay that money. But yeah, if I get any upgrades or other parts and stuff, but I've got to say, yeah, this has been mixed feelings because I was beginning to hate this thing. Now it feels like I'm starting again, and I will see how it goes. I think I've got like maybe 2 weeks left before I'm sending it back to Amazon runs out. But so far it feels like I'm finally getting that experience that I expected from something that cost $700 or $800. But it just sucks that I've had to pay a minimum of $200 to get that basic experience. But again, you won't, sort of have to pay that if you just stick to the MetaQuest games. But definitely not something, the only kids, it's definitely an adult device is what I would call it. But in saying that, if you're new to VR, the MetaQuest 2, most people aren't as fussy with their graphics as me. A MetaQuest 2 might do you. And not only that, hey, if you can find them, the 128 gigabyte models, you can get 2 of them for this sort of thing. And then there's Pico 4, which is like a MetaQuest 2, but it's got the pancake lenses, so it's like a MetaQuest 2, but better, and I think for about $500. I almost got one of those. And I think they've got an actual cooling fan built in at the front there. Yeah, it's one of those, it's been a love-hate relationship with this thing. I think in the end I will get used to it and happy with it. Helix, you said before about screen tearing, stuff like that. I think it depends on the game, the settings, the refresh rate, because there were games I was playing, and I'm one of those people where they say, you've got to get used to VR movement, but I'm like, I can do controller movement where I'm standing still left and right. Yeah, I get those motion effects, but I can handle it. I'm not going to sit there and go, bloop, and throw my guts up. However, there was a couple of games I played, and I noticed, when I turned left and right, that After the Fall was one of them. You basically get... Now, this is what... I don't understand why this happens, because if you turn your head around, and if you're standing up and turning around, your whole body will turn. And there's options too sometimes to have that sort of turning contribute to your movement to smooth things out, give you more of a console first-person shooter type of locomotion, so teleporting and insta-turning stuff. But yeah, if you're sitting down, unfortunately, you've got that insta turning, or you've got to move around, and there's weirdness between brain and it not, and it's thinking it's moving, but knowing it's not moving. That's what throws people off. But yeah, I noticed some games when you use the joystick turning, we've also seen screen tearing in video games where I was wondering, yeah, maybe the Quest's panels are portrait mode, so to speak, rotated 180, because as I turned, now in PC games, the screen tearing is horizontal. Well, it usually goes that way across the screen when you don't have VSync on. Now, VSync should be on in the Quest because 75 hertz refresh rate. Refresh rates imply VSync. But yeah, there was screen tearing when I was turning, but it was vertical. I've never seen that in a PC game before, or even console games and stuff. It's always usually horizontal tearing. And so that adds weirdness on its own. But again, it's not there when you turn. And so it's like, wait, why is it there when I turn on the joystick? So that's another thing I think Meta's got to look at. I don't know if anybody's reported that or experienced it. It's not all games, but quite a few games are doing that. But then again, I said, as long as you're turning with your head, you don't get that tearing. And it's like, why does it? If you turn, you don't get that tearing, but if you turn, you get that tearing. Wall detection, yeah, I should probably discuss that too. It's got a couple of ways of doing it. When it maps out, you will get like a screen pop up saying, "Oh, no boundary detected. Do you want to map out a new boundary?" And it'll give you a couple of options. Room scale. Room scale, it'll scan the room. You'll get like polygons dropping down all over the place. Because of my privacy and stuff, I don't want to show that because I don't. Yeah, what you can see behind me, that's what you see. In the future, I'll find ways to do like show the pass through and other things that will protect my privacy, I guess. Because yeah, these are features of it. It is, but yeah, the wall detection and stuff seem to be pretty good. It can be sensitive. It's another thing you've got to be aware of when you're streaming. It feels like you get that close to your boundaries, and it fades in. You get like a little portally smudge, like somebody's with an eraser, and you can see reality. So you've got to be careful of that too, because if you're streaming or recording, that's going to be captured as well. And you might be like, if I turn my head to, get a bit too close to my computer while I'm sitting down, it might open up and show what's on my desktop, for example. So that's the sort of thing that you have to be aware of too. Pass through is serviceable. It feels almost like looking through two 720p webcams. So you're getting stereo, but a lot of noise. Obviously, like digital cameras, it's better in daylight, but it really does feel like you're looking at webcam videos. But it has enough depth and things that you can grab, move things around quite easily, as if you haven't got a VR headset. Like I've managed to make tea and cups of tea and coffee without problems. I can probably make a sandwich and eat it, no problems. That's how good the movement is, but you do notice the warping and stuff. Like you bring your phone up, and then depending on where you have it, maybe your phone sort of bends like this. But once you get used to it, you know where to hold it and stuff. And yeah, like your text would be quite clear and legible enough to read. But I don't think it's clear enough for you to like comfortably type. Maybe you can get away with typing or something like that. But apparently it's come along with way since launch. Oh yeah, there's also a sensor here. That was one issue we had, where when you move this away from your face, that sensor detects like a light detector that you're not there, so it turns or dims the screens, and then when you put it back on, it fires it all back up. I had a problem with the second time because Gizmo had a brief go of it when I first got it. Played a little demo shooting monsters coming out of an augmented reality game. And the second time, I went to get her to try some of those sort of demos that I showed in the other video. And it booted up. I could see the logo, handed it off to her, helped her adjust it. And she's like, it's just black. It's just black. And then she'd take it off. I'd hand it to me, and I'd go like this. But see, I was like holding it up like near my face, like this sort of thing, instead of pushing it all the way on. And it was lighting up. I said, well, it's working for me. Hand it back to her. Go black. And then I found, once I put it on myself, it also went black, and I still have no idea why it was doing that. After a couple of reboots, it came right, and it's been working fine. But you've got to be careful of that too, because yeah, there's been reports of people saying like these interface covers, if it sort of blocks that sensor, it'll think you're wearing it, power it up, it's in standby mode, and you will drain your battery because it's going to be turned on and you don't even realise it. So I recommend, look, it boots up fairly quickly and shuts down fairly quickly. Just shut it down when you're not using it. Plus, that you don't have to worry about Wi-Fi and stuff, whether it's in standby mode or not. Turned off is turned off. You're not using it, turn it off completely, and that's just you keep holding the power button down until it shuts off. The same as a desktop PC. If you don't have that soft power button setting where it's like you press power button and it shuts down your computer, you hold it down to hard shut down. You ignore the menu that pops up, and yet when you want to use it, hold the button down. 5 seconds, bam, everything's booted up. I have to say, I will give it points for the overlays, the desktop screens, and things like that. That is great. The effect of having like a giant screen up there. Once you start getting the hang of it in virtual desktops, and the right virtual environments and stuff, I think, yeah, the clarity, like looking at the web, like a web browser, or even Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll, I think, on a big, like 20-meter screen, the anime, it just looks in 1080p, sort of, I guess you could say it's upscaled. It actually looks better than my 1080p Sony Bravia TV and stuff. It's as sharp as the desktop monitor, but in some ways it's better. In some ways you can tell, little artifacts here and there occasionally, but most of all it's just like it's smooth as hell. And it's serviceable. The text is easy to write. It's easy to type. There are different ways to do it depending on the app. You can use these and type, like you get an Android phone style keyboard pop up or tablet, but in 3D. You can easily move things around, hold the meta button down and realign everything. It takes a bit of getting used to. Things don't always work as intuitively as you would hope. But once things work, so now it's basically, I can just use virtual desktop. I'm at that point now. Plug my PC VR cable in or connect via Airlink, and now I've got that router and this cable. It all works through virtual desktop. I don't got to mess around with the Meta Store or Steam VR anymore. That handles everything. It's also got some settings, but it's like, this is the kind of app that Meta should already have themselves. It's how it should be. Their app is just like some weird grid land. It's just all white for eternity with some crap control panel with big chunky buttons on it. And it's clunky. And then they've got an actual like remote desktop app, which is different again. But that also allows you to do basically a virtual desktop. So I could, in theory, with this thing. Now this is in theory because I don't know if it's possible. But I could move my microphone, or I could leave my microphone there, just make it so it's out of the way of this monitor. And I should be able to have another monitor and scale it the same as these two. And basically I could maybe go, okay, now I can do multi-monitor gaming because I've got 3 monitors and, 2 monitors, your crosshairs and stuff's right in the middle of you can't do it. That maybe I could do a 3rd monitor and find a way to trick the computer into acting as a real monitor. I know you can do extra desktops, so I can do a desktop monitor, so who knows. Like I said, it's still early days for me, but it was just a pain in the ass. So this is not for beginners. If you want to get into PC VR, the list of parts I've given will take out a lot of pain, but I recommend having really good specs for your computer too. I looked at that today and it was insane. Bloody the 4090s are like $3,000+. It's like, are you kidding me? God, Nvidia, they're such bandits. And why? Because there's no government regulation. Law unto themselves, just like a lot of the gaming industry. Yeah, and I think honestly, if you've got this in a phone, I'll give the matter that they're doing like an Xboxy sort of thing where they're probably taking a loss on the hardware, and that's why they're cheaping out on straps and stuff. But you know what? If you're already paying $800 for this thing, you're going to pay $820 to get a strap. If you're going to pay $30 afterwards, so it's like, hey, matter. This is the same with the Quest 2. Did people buy your Elite straps? Or did they go and buy a $30 one or a $100 one, a $150 one from somebody else because it was built better? People will pay more if you give them good stuff, but the Meta band's just like around here without the light band without that. I don't know what more to say about this thing. Really. Oh, back to the room scaling or tracking and stuff like that. Yeah, it does a good job of overlaying everything, though. Like I said, you just got to be careful of where it shows things to pass through. But you also got a stationary boundary where it just puts a big ring around you. That has been a problem actually, because sometimes you'll be in an app and it breaks the immersion because you look down and there's the big blue ring there. You'll be playing a game, but then you play another game and it's not there. I did have that glitch out sometimes, but you can save it. Like I can basically map out my entire house and save it, and the quest basically knows where I am when I walk in there. It'll automatically generate all the guardian stuff, and you can sort of draw it out and modify it to suit you. So I might look around and map the floor, but it goes out into the kitchen. I'm like, well, I'm not going out in the kitchen. I just want the square bit here in front of the telly under the ceiling fan, and draw a square, and it's bigger than the circle, but it stops me from punching the fish tank. So yeah, I guess if I gave this a score, I would say if you're a sort of well off financially person or you want to spoil yourself, it is a luxury premium toy, but it's not as premium as it could be when it comes to the details. The actual face itself, well designed, great. It's just everything else that sucks. And it looks like they fixed a lot over the year that it's been out, but you still got to spend a lot of money. So, and it's amazed that I reckon there'll be a lot of people who've been disappointed. They bought this, they're like, oh my God, $800, I'm going to spoil myself. And then it's like, oh wait, it's running out. I've got to get an hour out of it, or an hour and a half, because I've got everything cranked up and I don't know what I'm doing. And the cable's not keeping it charged. Maybe with the cable in, maybe I've got 2 hours. But then I've got to wait 3 hours for it to recharge. And so you've got to do these. A $20 charger, that would be the first one as well that I would do, because you want a better charger than the Quest one. It barely does the job. If you want to run a USB powered off the mains, so you're going to need at least a 5 meter cable for powering it. So you might as well spend the extra money and get that Inui cable. And as you say, I mean, the majority of reviews agree. It's like magic again. Yeah, so for me, I would say avoid it. Avoid it. If you're looking for budget gaming, if you're getting new to VR and you're undecided whether it's for you, baby steps. Go buy a Quest 2, and especially if you've got multiple kids, so one's not using it, hell, with a Quest 2, you could have 2 of them. You wouldn't even have to buy a new battery then. You just charge up one, charge up both Quest 2s, play on one. When that runs out, plug it in to charge and use the other one. Just interchange actual headsets, because you can get 2 of these and you'll get a very similar experience. It won't be as high quality, high res, you won't have similar features, but it's a hell of a lot more affordable. It's the difference between buying an Xbox for $500 or a desktop gaming PC for $2,500, sort of thing. You've got to take that into account. If you're the sort of person with disposable income who's got no problems with dropping $1,000 on a video card, or $3,000, you're going to have no problems dropping money on this. It is a premium thing, though. It really, really is. If you want something better than a Quest 2, but you don't want to spend as much on the Quest 3, then I'd recommend that Pico 4. Like I said, I've got no personal experience with it, but I've read enough on it to see that it is a good machine. It's basically a Quest 2, but with better visually. I don't know what else to say. MetaQuest 3, actually working. Took me 2 bloody weeks and a lot of research, and hopefully this will help somebody out there to avoid all the bullshit I had to go through, because I was starting to get mad with this thing. But even then, I've literally had it like for 2 weeks, and I've only really got it working properly now in terms of power and PC VR. If I was just playing shitty Quest games, I'd be fine. But yeah, if you're buying this for PC VR, that's where you're really going to hit some hurdles. You really want to be prepared, because even if your computer should run this, there's no guarantee it's going to. And it can be simple things like the wrong USB cable. Or you get the right USB cable, but you got a faulty one. And if that's the case, well, you don't want to give up. You want to send it back, but that's going to be like a couple more weeks for the store to receive the cable back and then send you a new one. So, like I said, look for the ones with the good reviews. You've got to pay a little bit more. This is $20 more than other ones that are claimed to work. But this one is just so much, more heavy duty, solid, weighty. you can see where the money is going, and it works. Don't take chances on the power delivery because that's the biggest thing with that. So it's like, yeah, 3 out of 10 on power delivery. They should have put a bit of bigger battery in it. And even if they had daisy chained it and put one on the back strap, made it have one of these straps, put a battery, two batteries chained. It should have, you need a device like this that if you want people wearing it all the time and out and about, you want it lasting like 4 hours. If you want people wearing this all the time, doing office work, because that's why I think something like this would excel. You see that pushed with the Apple VR. Um, this can do it. This can do it. I can have my two monitors here. I can bring other stuff up here. I can have like a big, like 55-inch TV screen with Crunchyroll or Prime Video or Disney Plus. Anything I want to do, I can stream videos from my server out in the living room. And that is where this thing can sort of excel as well. I don't think you'd want to do it with Fresnel lenses and stuff, but with this, it's like I even played Genshin last night on it, and I streamed it on Discord and showed some friends. And for me, they would have been saying crappy 720p screen, but for me, it was like just cinema size anime, and that was Genshin. And it was like, yeah, crystal clear. Performance is great because, yeah, even playing 2D games. You live in a small apartment and you got like a 24-inch monitor, and you can't afford or you don't have the space for a big screen TV. Well, here's your big screen TV because here you can have cinema size. And I guess it adds another layer to couch gaming because that's sort of died off. So if you've got mates who've got VR, or compatible VR apps, you can actually invite them over, I guess, and sit down and watch movies. So there's another aspect to it. But yeah, when it comes to working, I really want to hopefully look into that more in the future, productivity and stuff. Because it's almost like at that point with VR where, yeah, you look like a knob if you walk around in one. But I could see something like this where they've got it to the point now where you could wear it out and about, but you want to. But the problem is, yeah, battery packs. I've got a backpack I might work because I can plug it in. It's got a USB cable, so I can have batteries in the backpack and plug the thing into the backpack. But you're still going to need cables and stuff because unfortunately there's no wireless battery transmission, or you need to mount another battery. And once you start mounting other batteries, it starts getting big and bulky. But you could navigate the world in this. You could be walking around the supermarket while you've got bloody YouTube video up here on the side. Yeah, web browser and stuff. Firefox browser on it is amazing. It's called Woolby. But maybe that's what we'll do next, start reviewing stuff. But overall, power supply, what did I say? 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, something. It's terrible, but it is fixable. Something they really need to look at adapting. Battery technology is what's going to hold mankind back. It hasn't advanced fast enough, and it's not keeping up with our tech requirements. Hardware-wise, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 because some of the settings and stuff like that, it's pretty good for what it is. It's high quality, but obviously it's too much for what we're currently capable of, and it's just, yeah, you'd lose a point for how it's very simple to set up and get up and running, but it can also be difficult depending on what you want to do. So standalone gaming, fine. PC VR, you're going to get mixed results. It's hard to say. But it's like, yeah. I'm going to say, in the end, I was happy with the results, but honestly, if I had to do it all over again, knowing what I know now, I honestly might have reconsidered my purchasing choices. And I might have even leant towards, you know what, VR's not there yet. I'll just make do with 2 Quest 2 because then even Gizmo could have had one and she could do co-op and stuff with me. So that's another thing to consider. If you want to play with your friends, well, you're going to have to hand it over. There's the hygiene issues. You're going to have to buy those silicon things unless you want everybody swapping things because, it's one of those things too. If you have friends come around, they're going to be like, oh, could try VR. I haven't had that yet, but thankfully, because I ain't got no friends. Except for Helix. No, I got mates and stuff like that, but I've sort of made it clear to them too that once I wouldn't be letting anybody use it until I got silicon covers and made it sort of hygienic enough to share. But even then, it's like you don't go up to somebody and say, hey, can I play with your $1,000 iPhone? You'd be like, nah, man, it's a personal thing. And this is basically like my, iPhone or Samsung Galaxy, but you wear it on your face. It's one of those things I can't afford. If that gets broken, to replace it, $800. It's only covered by warranty if it's a manufacturing fault sort of thing. So yeah, but I wouldn't have that issue if I got two Quest 2 because it'd be like $300, and hey, I have one for myself, for visitors and guests or whatever, and if that gets fucked up, I don't care because I still got one. But yeah, the image quality difference would be much noticeable. So it's really got to be, yeah, make up your own mind. Is it for you? Can you afford it? Going by what I've said, it can be doable. Are you willing to spend $1,000? Are you willing to spend more than $1,000 to really take it to what it's capable of? And by that point, it's like, holy crap, man, that's almost getting to like buying a low end mid gaming PC. Stuff like, yeah, maybe I should have upgraded the 2060. I mean, $1,200, I could have bought a new motherboard, a new processor, memory, and it probably still have enough money left over for a half decent GPU, mid to low high tier GPU, depending. Probably have to go AMD now because Nvidia is getting out of control there. So yeah, so many things to consider. But yeah, I've wanted VR since the 80s. I feel like it's a little bit too pricey, but I'm not getting any younger. I don't know if the next generation, the next big step in the price dropping and everything will come around in my lifetime. But I'm at that point where I'm willing to dip a toe into it. That it's reached that point, I can honestly say, where yeah, VR is there. It's where it should be. Now that we finally got to that point where yeah, it hopefully can only get better. But it's what I always hoped VR would be since the first time I tried it in the 1980s, when it was like basic polygon crap and like basically cathode ray TV strapped to your face. VFX1. It was almost like a $2,000 headset that ran at like 300 pixel resolution, 320 by 480 or something, maybe even lower res than that. And now a big bulky thing, and we're down to that. And hey, unless you got like $5,000 for something fancy and small, like I think that big screen one or whatever it is, I forget what it's called. Yeah, might be a good option. But I'll report back. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's good and bad. It's been a pleasure and a pain. If you've got the cash, grab one. If you're that curious, if you can waste the cash. But if you're a tight budget and you're not really sure, hold off and think about it. And like I said, consider your options. Same price as one of these, you can get two Quest 2s. Or you can get one Pico 4 with change. And if 128 gigabytes is not enough for you, well, hey, guess what? You got a problem. You can't upgrade storage on these. You can maybe plug a USB stick in it and read a file, but you cannot put an SD card in it to install games to. You're stuck with whatever's on here, or you're stuck with PC VR. You can what you can fit on your computer and what you can fit on your Quest. Doesn't seem to be any sort of upgrade option. I've also found that weird. It's like, yeah, you think they would have added it to have expandable storage for that reason. I mean, look, that's what Microsoft did. Took basic M.2 drive and made a proprietary connection for it. And it's like, hey, you can upgrade the storage, but you got to buy ours. Who knows what Mark Zuckerberg or Meta is thinking? I don't. And it's just crazy because it's just so many obvious design choices, like the cable, $50 cable. That's retail. A company like Meta could no doubt get a cable like that for less and would be able to bundle it with this, especially if you're buying $1,000 512 gigabyte one. Same as I was saying, this strap. Why not throw in what probably costs $10 to make strap? Be more to praise out of the box. The experience is better out of the box. You throw in a silicon cover. Some Chinese company making that. I bought the kit for $25. So the interface, probably get that for $2. Throw one of those in because your customers will be so much more grateful for it. Give them the option. Do you want fabric or do you want a silicon cover? Put in protectors, stuff. Again, these are things that cost very little, but add so much value. Anyway, now I'm just going to be rambling, and I want a coffee and a ciggy and stuff like that. So if you're still awake, Helix, I'm about to get off here, sign off, and I'm going to jump on Discord. I think this thing pumps out a Discord link in Streamlabs. Puts Discord link. Sorry, it's midnight here, and I'm feeling tired. About a long day. That's why I've been all sort of rambling over the place. Again, comments if you want to know anything after the video ends. I do read my comments and stuff like that, and if I can, I will reply. And if I think a question needs addressing or is good enough, I will cover it in a video maybe. But yeah, time to call it quits. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video helped. All that usual, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon sort of stuff, so you will see when I bring out new videos. Yeah, I was going to actually capture footage and stuff. I was going to make a decent video for this, but I was just sort of like threw that all to the side when I was like almost going to be like a rant video about this thing's pissing me off so much. And if it wasn't for this cable, that's what it would have been. This would have been fuck this thing. But that cable's matter. You should be thanking this company for making that cable. maybe Meta's is just as good, but it's twice as much. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Excuse me. You're going to head to bed now that I'm going. It's like you've got your ASMR now to fall asleep to. You don't need me anymore. But yeah, I need a coffee. I definitely need a coffee. So, all right, if I don't see you before, Helix, I'll catch up with you, I don't know, maybe tomorrow or, sooner than later. But thank you to all the new people who came to watch tonight. And, yep, watch this space. We're going to have more VR videos, no doubt, as well as, I've still got more 3D printer stuff and everything to post. That is coming. It is coming. All right then, everybody. This is Rabid. That's the Quest 3. Buy or do not buy. I'm annoyed but happy with my purchase. And stayed away from the Meta Horizon Worlds and VR chat. Unless you're a creep, you're going to have a hard time there. You're going to go out of your mind. If small children just drive you insane, that's what's going to do. So pick and choose your games wisely. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. Rabid out.